The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Lacey, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 32364. Please utilize this job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. Let's get started on a brief orientation of your new apparatus. Starting down at the front bumper face on the passenger side is where you'll find your electronic siren PA speaker. Located on each side, passenger and driver bumper face, you'll find dual air horns. Moving up onto the passenger side, you'll find your pull string bell. Located just inside of that location, you'll find 2 attachment points or tow hooks. And on the driver's side, you'll find your mechanical siren. On the bumper extension, you'll find emergency warning lights on the passenger and driver side. And as we move up to the face of the apparatus, your headlight low beam is on the outside, high beam will be on the inside. Just on the outside of that, you'll find your turn indicator and marker light, and above the headlight cluster, you'll find your emergency warning lights. Underneath the Pierce logo, you'll find the release mechanism to release the hood. You'll find 3 windshield wipers across your one-piece seamless windshield. Moving up to the brow, you'll find 5 running lights. Moving further up, you'll find a full LED forward-facing floodlight. Moving up to the top, you'll find your emergency warning light bar. Located just inside that light bar in the center, you'll find your traffic advisor Opticom. Further up on top, over the passenger and driver side, you'll find your go lights, which are your spotlights. And you'll also find mirrors that contain flat and convex portions. Over the officer seat in the front, you'll find a directional concaved mirror. Here's a quick image of the front of your apparatus. We'll move through some close-ups here of the headlight structure, turn, and emergency warning lights. And then in the center, just behind the Pierce logo, you'll find the release mechanism for your hood. On the driver's side, you'll find your keyless entry. You'll also find a Kusmal auto eject 20 amp plug. When plugged into shore power, your plus status center will operate. Just to the rear door of the cab, you'll find additional storage locations. As we move just past onto the body, you'll find your storage location with 4 individually locked compartments. In this same compartment, you'll find this warning label regarding entanglement hazard. Above that, a grab handle. Then there are 4 hose lines, color-coded and individually labeled. To access those hose lines, simply remove the 2 orange bands to gain access to your hose. Located at the top, you'll also find a floodlight located on the passenger and driver's side. There are 2 grab handles above and below your hose reel, a fold-down foot placement. You'll also find a D handle, which will gain access to the booster reel. Let's go ahead and move down lower to the pump panel area. We'll talk about some of the items here, starting in the upper left-hand corner with your water level indicator. That is the blue section. Moving to the right in the gray section, you'll find your master intake. In between the master intake and master discharge, you'll find your test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. To the right of those, your master discharge. Moving to the right in the gray area, you'll find your Pierce throttle pressure governor, which we'll go over shortly. You'll also find a warning, do not engage unless this green light is operational. Just beneath that, you'll find an audible speaker for an alarm. The outer edge of the bezel is what controls the sound volume.
To the right, we'll talk a little bit about some of these switches here. I've got a close-up of those in a few moments. On the left lower section, you'll find your number 1, number 2, 2.5-inch crosslay, and also the number 4 crosslay. Moving further to the right of those 4 valves, you'll find an audible alarm. Once again, the outer bezel will control that volume level. You have an amber low fuel warning. Moving to the right, you'll find your deck gun valve. Just underneath that, you'll find your test plate for Pierce for 150, 200, and 250 psi. You'll find your officer side rear pre-connect, and also moving down from that location, you'll find an additional set of valves. This is your number 1, number 3, number 2, and number 4 discharge ports. All of these are 2.5-inch discharge ports. To the right, you'll find your officer side large diameter discharge. Moving further to the right, you'll find this twist not pull reel blowout, and also your tank fill. Just beneath that, your reel discharge, and to the right, your tank to pump. Let's go all the way back up to the very top. We'll cover some of the items a little closer. First, your master intake on the left-hand side, the large gauge. In between the two of those is the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. Moving to the right, you'll find your master discharge. Let's move slightly to the right and let's talk a little bit about your Pierce throttle pressure governor. First, in the upper right corner, you'll find this warning. If lit, it's indicating that you can go ahead and function normally. If not, do not open the throttle unless that light is on. Moving to the left, you'll find a digital readout at the very top portion. Moving down, you'll find in red the idle button. Moving to the right, you'll find a preset in orange. Moving down, you'll find the menu scroll button and also the silence button. To the right in green, this is your mode button, whether you select the PSI mode or the RPM mode. And to the right in yellow, you'll find your increase or decrease of the throttle. Just beneath that, you'll find engine information for battery, oil, and water temperature. Let's move to the switches now. At the very top, you'll find your panel lights, driver's side floodlights, flood scene master, and also an open closed for your rear inlet indicator. To the right, you'll find your air horn, generator on and off, reel rewind, and an indicator that your pump is properly engaged. Down below, you'll find this Pierce placard regarding your test pressures for 150, 200, 250 psi. On the left, you'll find the associated GPM, and on the right, you'll find the associated RPMs. You do have a governed speed of 1,970. Close-up look of some of the items that we just talked about. We'll now move down to the lower section. Let's go ahead and move down to the next section down. First, let's start with this warning label regarding pressure's hazard. Because the pressure behind the caps could be dangerous, be cautious when you remove those caps for relieving of those pressures. You'll also find a warning label regarding only trained personnel should operate this equipment, and only after using the owner's manual. To the right, you'll find your Watrous plaque. In the upper left-hand corner, the number 1 discharge, and on the right-hand side in blue, the number 2 discharge. Those are both 2.5-inch discharge ports. As we move down to the next section, you'll find your 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet, and to the right, the Pierce American flag Eagle logo is your large diameter pump intake. At the very base, you'll find all of your color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Let's go and move just slightly to the right, just in the area where your Watrous placard is located. This is a 1500 GPM capacity pump. There is an engine cooler. This is a twist, not a pull. Moving to the right, you'll find your recirculating line. Once again, twist, not a pull. And then moving to the right, you'll find your pump drain. Let's go ahead and move all the way to the left-hand side. This is going to be all your associated drains, color-coded and also labeled. As we move further to the right, you'll find your intake relief valve drain. And then all the way to the very far right, you'll find your manual pump shift. There are 2 caution labels above these. Please be familiar with those. Let's move around now to some of the compartments. First, let's take a look into the driver's side compartment. This is just past the pump panel. You'll find that all of your compartments have a ventilation system. In this compartment, you do have a shoreline outlet. Now we'll move through some of the exterior compartments also. You do have a blue DEF 4.5 US gallon fill location. You also have 2 SCBA bottle locations in front and rear of the rear tire. Also, you'll find your silver ultra low sulfur diesel fuel location. We're now looking over the rear wheel. This is the center compartment, adjustable shelving and LED lighting. As we move to the rear of the apparatus, on the bottom section behind the rear wheel, you'll find a 9,000 maximum allowable winch rating. This is an attachment point, and then you'll also find right next to it your folding wheel chock. This is the same configuration as to the passenger side. As we move to the rear compartment, you'll find once again LED lighting, adjustable shelving, and also this shelf, which will pull outward. The release mechanism is on the right. General view of the rear of the apparatus will cover some of those items next. Let's start down with some of the warning labels. First, this is an indication that you should not ride on the back of the apparatus while it's in motion. There is also a fall hazard indication here. Moving upward to the next warning label, this is a pressurized cap warning. Due to the associated pressures behind those caps, be cautious when you remove them. You'll also find an entanglement hazard here because of those hoses coming above the location where they are established. Down at the very bottom, you'll find your brake, turn signal, and also reverse lights. There are 4 emergency lights rear facing in the rear of the apparatus. There is also 2 top mounted emergency lights. You have sufficient grab handles for going aloft to the hose bed. There is also fold down steps located mid location and also lower. There are 2 pan compartments, which we'll talk about the contents within those areas. We'll also talk about your rear discharge 2.5 inch. Traffic advisor located just underneath the hose bed. Located directly in the center, you'll find your backup or reverse camera. And then moving to the right, you'll find your large diameter intake. Moving up to the left side at the very top, you'll find a rear facing floodlight. Moving down to the bottom and mid location, you'll find 3 folding steps. Here's some close-ups of those. This is the rear floodlight switch. Moving to the right, you'll find the folding step and also the driver's rear discharge. Here's some close-ups of the traffic advisor and backup camera. Large diameter rear inlet. Down on the left side, you'll find a tool compartment. This is one of those pan compartments that we talked about earlier. And on the opposite side, you'll find your folding ladder, 10 foot. The rear roll-up door offers 3 pull-out style shelves. The release mechanism for the shelf is on the right-hand side. Let's move now all the way around to the passenger side of the vehicle. Same configuration as the other side, although we do have a rear inlet air bleed, and then also the 9,000 pound maximum allowable winch rating and the receiver. In the rear compartment, you'll find adjustable shelving, also the ventilation system and LED lighting. You'll also find SCBA bottle storage locations. Just underneath this, you'll also find a 20 amp outlet, your equipment rack hydraulic reservoir with instructions on the fluid capacities. Let's go ahead and go to the middle compartment. This is going to be just over the rear wheel. At the very top, you'll find your Intel power converter battery system. You'll also find adjustable shelving, LED lighting, and also the air recirculation system. Moving downward, you'll find additional bottle storage. Let's go ahead and move to the first compartment. You'll find your generated power breaker. At the very lower section, you'll find additional storage locations with adjustable shelving. As we move up to the top, once again, this is the G1, which stands for your generator continuous power supply rated. These are the breakers 1 through 8. Let's go ahead and move now. This is your IRT enabled switch. You'll find a green indicator once you've enabled it. Also located at the top of the compartment, you'll find your air ventilation system timer when plugged into shore power. You'll also find your rear inlet at the base just in front of the rear wheel. At the very top, you'll find, just as you do on the driver's side, passenger side flood side facing, 2 grab handles for ease of access and going aloft. You'll also find this mechanism which allows you to hold up the cross-lay panel while you're loading hose. As we move to the side panel, you'll also find this danger label regarding your powered equipment rack, a warning label regarding not riding on the side of the apparatus, and then also a warning regarding pressurized caps and the associated hazards while opening those caps. Let's go ahead and move back up to the very top. There are 2 pan location doors here for access behind the panel. We'll talk about those in the next set of images. Let's move to the right. You'll find your powered equipment rack control. This is the master switch for on and off, which allows you to lift up or down your equipment powered rack. You'll also find the number 4 officer side 2.5-inch discharge. Just to the right of the officer side discharge, you'll find 2 switches. First, the reel rewind, and then to the right, this is going to be the floodlight control light switch. Inside the access doors, you'll find the relief valve for your pump intake. You'll also find the motor and fan for your ventilation system. This is a close-up of your equipment rack. Reel rewind, passenger side floodlight switches. Let's go down further down. You'll find all your associated drains color-coded and also labeled on the left-hand side. As we move to the right, you'll find your large diameter pump intake behind the Pierce American Flag Eagle logo. And to the right, you'll find your auxiliary passenger side 2.5-inch. As we move up, you'll find the officer side large diameter discharge. And then to the right, you'll find the 2.5-inch number 3 discharge. Moving further down, this is the passenger side auxiliary inlet. Once again, a 2.5-inch female inlet. Down at the base, you will find hose storage locations with these 2 buckles for securing those hoses. In the first compartment forward, you'll find additional storage, LED lighting, and also dry deck material. As we look to the center compartment, you'll find this warning label regarding entanglement hazard because of those hoses. And then you'll also find the number 4 crosslay on the driver's side, the 2.5-inch crosslay, the number 2 crosslay on the driver's side, and also the number 1 crosslay on the officer side. Once again, all labeled and also color-coded. Let's go ahead and move just inside the rear section of the cab. First, you'll find at all points of entry these warning labels. In addition, within the rear section, you'll find this firefighter assist grab handle. It's red in color and will assist you in getting into the cab along with the door grab handle. You do have 2 rear-facing compartments. Overhead, you have push on and off red and white lights, in addition with air conditioning, and also 2 upper compartments in the front and also in the rear. Those compartments offer a shelf that's adjustable inside and also LED lighting. Here's a couple close-ups of those forward-facing shelves and also rear-facing shelves. Located at the rear section of the apparatus engine, you'll also find access points for oil and transmission checks. All right, this is the last image here. We're going to move forward. This is looking from the rear section, moving to the forward section of the apparatus. Let's talk about some of the items here. On the right-hand side, rear-facing seat, you'll find an SCBA seat along with a SCBA outer section. We're now in the passenger side, officer seat. You'll find warning labels once again at all points of entry. You'll also find this warning label. Your vehicle is equipped with a supplemental restraint system, an airbag. Please do not block this area and be cautious for mounting of any equipment in this area. You also have a bell rope located on the right-hand side just above the grab handle for the officer. Let's go ahead and move down to the floor level passenger side officer seat. You'll find two pedals here. First, electronic siren and also your mechanical siren control. Let's move up to the dash area. You'll find a siren brake, an air horn, and also a rear brake. Moving further back to the left, you'll find an indication for your speedometer. Moving forward to that location, you'll find two USB style 12-volt access points. And then just beneath that, you'll find two 12-volt barrel style access points. Moving just forward to this location is where you'll find your vehicle data recorder port. And now let's go ahead and move overhead in the passenger seat. Couple items here. You'll find your fire comm system. You'll also find an intense reading light. Moving to the left, you'll find your Kenwood radio. This is going to be your unit radio. Then you'll find to the left-hand side an additional location for additional power units, and underneath that you'll find your fire comm system. You'll also find this red style puck light indicating if lit, do not move your apparatus. You have a compartment or door ajar. Looking from the front section to the rear, you'll find two SCBA bottled seats. Underneath those bottle seats, you'll find additional storage. We're now to the driver's side where you'll find your air inlet in the stepwell and also the air shutoff and air outlet. At about the right ankle of the operator, you'll find your manufactured by Pierce for your fire department with the job number, gross vehicle weight rating, tire inflation information, VIN number, component, fluid capacity, and fluid types. Let's move about the foot area. For left foot of the operator, you'll find the air horn and mechanical siren foot pedals. Moving up at about the left knee, you'll find the tech module, engine, transmission, ABS, and diagnostic port, which is in green. And then to the right, you'll find another diagnostic port for your display. You'll also find the two switches, or I should say 3 switches below for your ABS diagnostics, engine inhibit, and also the DPF region switch. Let's go ahead now and move to the upper section. This is going to be just above on the left-hand side of the column. You'll find your master battery switch in red. Above that, you'll find your ignition, start, and hazard lights. And then to the right, you'll find an emergency master, your headlight control, and also a panel dimmer switch. You'll also find your dash, the transmission oil, DEF level, water temperature, tachometer, speedometer, volts, fuel, front and rear air, informational diagnostic codes that will display above and below the speedometer. To the right of the column, you'll find your engage the high idle and the OK to engage a high idle indicator. To the right also, you'll find your pull to apply your system parking brake, push to release. As we get a general view of your center console, you'll find your Pierce command zone on the left-hand side, your Allison transmission pad. All the way to the very right-hand side, you'll find your pump shift. Before exiting the cab, you should have at least 2 green indicators, pump engaged and OK to pump, prior to engaging your pump. You'll also find the Allison transmission pad with an indication to pump in drive. In the upper section, you'll find your perimeter lights, siren brake, backup alarm override, and load manager, fuel primer, front white off, your IRT disable, and an IRT enable. The next set of switches down, you'll find your engine brake on and off, engine brake low, medium, and high, your generator start and stop preheat, and also your mirror heat. To the right, you'll find your mirror controls for the left and right mirror, and then just beneath that, which I previously mentioned, your pump shift from road to pump or from pump to road. The instructions are labeled on each of the sides depending on which direction you're headed. Let's take a look at the very top. You'll find your climate control for heat defrost, front and rear AC. At the upper left-hand corner over the operator's head, you'll find your length, 32 feet 11.75 inches, your height, 10 feet 2 inches, gross vehicle weight rating at 46,800 pounds. If you make any changes to your apparatus, please update this placard. To the right, you'll find your emergency master, roof light, front warning, side warning, lower rear warning, upper rear warning, your air horn, and opticom switch. Moving to the right, you're going to find in the upper left-hand corner the flood scene master, driver's cab scene, the visor scene, passenger cab scene, driver's side flood, rear work light, and also passenger side flood. These will indicate by being turned green when they are activated. You'll also find the control module for your go light spotlight. You'll also find overhead of the driver your directional indicator. To the right, a future location for any other components, and then to the very far right, your siren control and PA speaker system. Let's go ahead and back to the center area. You're going to find this center speaker. This is for your unit radio. In the center, you'll also find this puck style light indicating if lit not to move your apparatus, that you have a compartment or door open. And then you'll also find your wireless headset communication system for your Firecom system. Underneath the rear seats in the very rear of the apparatus, you'll find additional, first you'll find on the left-hand side your, when plugged into shore power, compressor for your brake system, and then to the right, the auto charge system for your batteries. Congratulations, Lacey, Washington, job number 32364. If you have any questions as to the content of this video or further questions regarding your apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.